prevent the flu from getting to you.
Some immunizations may not be available in all locations due to state law restrictions on pharmacist-administered immunizations. Age restrictions may apply. Use all products as directed.
Consider this your invitation to sell. At buysellmakeoffer.com, you can sell as much as you want for the next 60 days without paying any fees whatsoever. Sound incredible? It is, and it's true. Buysellmakeoffer.com is the new exciting way to sell your stuff online. Make extra money right now. Sell your old car, furniture, video games, household items, clothes, even your home. Sell anything that's legal. Load up your stuff to sell right now at buysellmakeoffer.com. This is your official invitation to get on board to sell your stuff right now. Free for the next 60 days. And once you see how easy it is, you'll want to sign up for more because there are no item fees. That's right. Take this opportunity to move items from the other guys and sell it for free. You might even win a Samsung tablet, Amazon gift cards, and other cool prizes. BuySellMakeOffer.com is the future of online selling. You can use Skype to talk to your buyer or seller. Plus, you can use video to showcase your items. BuySellMakeOffer.com.
With your Friday news, I'm Joe Miller, KCAA, 1050 AM, CNBC News, the station that leaves no listener behind. Southern California is looking to save water, did far more than just rip out their turf lawns, with numbers released yesterday showing thousands of people also installed low-flow toilets and water-efficient washing machines, according to the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. The fiscal year that ended June 30th saw the agency issue rebates for 215,000 low-flow toilets and 27,000 water-efficient washers, along with 13,000 rain barrels. Overall, the MWD issued $131 million in conservation rebates during the fiscal year. Former work release inmate at the West Valley Detention Center in Rancho Cucamonga filed a lawsuit Wednesday against a sheriff's deputy criminally charged with engaging in sex acts with a woman while on duty. Lawsuit alleges Deputy Armando Espinosa coerced the plaintiff, identified as Jane Doe, into multiple sex acts at a guard station at the jail in June and July. It also alleges Espinosa had sexual relations with at least one other inmate. A new Inland Empire-based research center for economic forecasting will open in October. School of Business Administration at the University of California, Riverside Center for Economic Forecasting and Development aims to create modern, first-rate economic forecast and economic development products that expand understanding and amplify interest in one of the state's most vital growth areas. Economist Christopher Thornburg said Riverside and San Bernardino counties make up an economic area that is larger than Detroit, Seattle, San Diego, or Orange County. I'm Joe Miller, KCAA, 1050 AM, CNBC News, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Here's your Money Minute with Market Wrap host Mo Ansari.
If you follow the markets, you've probably been getting seasick lately. But what if I told you that market volatility can be a good thing? If you're a bargain hunter, this is your coupon. So keep your shopping list handy. If you're a long-term investor with plenty of time before retirement, the money going into your 401k each month will buy more shares when the markets are down. And if you have a good financial plan, you can relax while others worry, because that plan will carry you beyond today's headlines. Of course, you should always consider professional guidance before making any financial decisions. That's your Money Minute. I'm Mo Ansari.
For more tips on investing during market volatility and other investment topics, listen to Market Wrap weekdays at 5 p.m. on this station. For a free consultation with Mo Ansari, call 800-388-9700. That's 800-388-9700.
Compact Asset Management is a registered investment advisor. Funds Custodian Fidelity Institutional Wealth Services, member FINRA SIPC.
KCAA, where every day is a great day. KCAA, Loma Linda.
Good morning. It's Friday.
And it's a disco in here. We're dancing. Woo!
Really a disco?
Okay, so that's like in the 70s, huh?
Yeah.
It's a nightclub. No, it's
the club.
It's the club. It's a rave. We're raving in here, Aaron.
No, we're not. I'm Aaron Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
We are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050, and I don't know where Tobin's mind is today.
I'm at the party.
You're at the party. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. We got Brandon. He's our resident 20-year-old. Is Tobin being weird or what?
I mean, I think that anyone would say that. You don't have to be 20.
Yeah. And it's Friday. It's Friday, Aaron. You got to get your party on. Come on. It's Friday.
It's Friday. Woot, woot.
Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna get turned.
Gonna turn up. Yeah, there we go. Oh my goodness.
So anyway, the Pope's in town. Not in town, but, in the U.S.
My Pope?
Well, you are Catholic.
I am Catholic. I claim him.
So we watched a little bit of his the homily that he gave at the Basilica in Washington, D.C. yesterday, St. Peter's Basilica.
Yeah. This Pope is a really interesting Pope. I mean, from day one, he has done things so different and has been such an interesting person. He's so humble and seems to really want to refocus the dialogue of the church on a variety of issues. And it's interesting to hear him speak. I have to say it was a little painful just because his English is poor, and so he speaks very slowly. And so I found myself really having to sort of listen carefully and concentrate, which is not a bad thing.
With his speech in the Well of Congress?
Yeah.
Yes.
But I actually felt like I enjoyed it better when I had a chance later to sit and just read it and sort of let it flow more in my own natural sort of pace of...
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and when he during the Mass, of course, there was a translator. He did the Mass in Latin.
Yeah.
But or at least it sounded like Latin to me. And so there was a translator, and so that had a more natural cadence to it than when he was speaking to Congress, which was really, I think it can only be described as painful. I respect the man for trying. He's got to go to every country in the world and try to speak to the people in their language, and that's nearly impossible. But it was kind of painful to listen to. Yeah.
But, as the last several popes, he's multilingual and does a pretty good job of it. I'm not complaining. I barely speak English, and you know that.
You barely speak. You speak American.
I speak American, and I barely speak American. I give him a lot of credit. He covered a lot of issues, though.
He did.
He really did.
He did.
And there were some where I found myself really applauding him for saying, because I agree with him on those issues, and thank God he's standing up for that. And then there were a few where I'm a bit of a skeptic, and I'm, like a lot of people, but I also appreciate him challenging us to think about these issues. So even on the ones that I disagree with him on, I didn't feel like I sometimes do with politicians, like I didn't feel attacked. I didn't feel like he was being negative. He has such a gentle nature about him.
He does.
So I felt like, if anything, he gets you to open your mind to look at some issues, and that's important.
Well, so here's the thing. Because he's a Jesuit,
yes,
and he's the first Jesuit pope in a very long time, Jesuits are not known for being meek.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting that his personality is the way he is, but it makes me think that he's got a fierce continence. He's got a fierce, I don't know what the right word is. If you dig a little deep, you have a tough cookie there.
Yeah. No, I agree. And the thing about
countenance, not continence, that's a totally different thing.
Yes. The thing about Jesuits is that they're just super smart. I mean, if you look at the history of the Jesuit movement, I mean, these are like the best of the best.
Well, they were like the
Church.
Knights of the Catholic Church, right? I mean, wasn't that their role?
They were formed in the Counter-Reformation specifically to go out and sort of re-educate people who were switching to Protestantism and to confront Protestantism face to face. These were your most educated, most eloquent, most sort of fierce defenders of Catholicism. And if you look throughout the history of the Jesuit movement, they've often been the teachers. They're the ones that are most likely to be out in the world, traveling, going to foreign places,
instead of locked up in a monastery somewhere.
Yeah. They're on the front lines of the Catholic Christian movement to educate and spread the word, and I think Pope Francis falls into that category quite nicely.
So there are some key points to the speech that he gave to Congress that I think there's 5 key points that we need to talk about today. Yeah. The first one is he talked about every life being sacred and every human person is endowed with an inalienable dignity, and society can only benefit from the rehabilitation of those convicted of crimes. And he talked about life being important at every stage of development. And so that, without saying the word abortion, I think he was talking about, the sanctity of unborn life. Yeah. And then he went to the other side of the spectrum and talked about, very specifically, he talked about the death penalty. Yeah. And so Tobin, talk about that a little.
Yeah, I buy into this fabric of life and this idea that we should defend the unborn, as well as I'm not a fan of the death penalty, as you know. And so I think that he really captures that Catholic teaching quite well. And at the end, he started to talk about, and I would have liked to have seen him go into a little more detail about the rehabilitation aspect of criminal justice. And we've started talking in this country, or at least considering the idea of criminal justice reform. We have a lot of people in prison in the United States that, frankly, we need to do something about. We need to reduce the number of people in our prisons.
Because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and we need to actually be doing something with them instead of just housing them for X number of years and then putting them back out on the streets.
But let me challenge you, because I think that, I'm thinking that not everybody in death row needs to be there. And there have been people who have been released on death row who were actually innocent, and that was thanks to programs like the Innocence Project. But then there are people like, and this is my classic example, like Richard Ramirez. And I don't know if people remember who he is. He's the Night Stalker. He crawled into people's bedrooms in the middle of the night and slaughtered them. Yep. He cut a pentagram into his hand. He was like the personification of evil. And I don't think that man had the right to breathe our air. And I don't have a problem with putting him to death, because there are people who have had a rough life and made really bad choices, and then there's evil, and I believe that evil exists.
I agree evil exists, but I don't have a problem with locking them up forever and never letting them out. For me, that's not an issue. You look at like Charles Manson, who, through a fluke of the California judicial system when Rose Bird was the state Supreme Court justice,
before she got her behind kicked out.
Yeah, but she basically, I think, well, I forget exactly how it went, but they allowed a whole bunch of these people to
commuted their
sentences. And commuted's not the right word, but the law changed briefly or something. They did something, and so, but he's he was given the death penalty, and now he's there for life, and he's become a joke, and you may say, okay, look, he's living a life and he's happy and whatever. I kind of don't think so. I mean, he's locked up in jail, and he's never going to get out, and I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think he was evil.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
He did a swastika in his forehead.
But I just wish, like I said, I'd heard a little bit more about criminal justice reform from the Pope. But still, that he made the case, he made the argument, and did it in such a thoughtful way that, again, if he affects other people the way he affected me, instead of the wall going up and people like, oh, I can't believe he said that, and I hate this man, and I'm not going to listen. I think he has a way of getting under your skin and making you think about issues.
Right.
And so my hope is that people that are pro-death penalty will begin to open their hearts and look at the issue a little bit differently. I'm not suggesting that everybody's going to change overnight, but I think it's worthy of a discussion.
Indeed. So let's talk about. He also talked about marriage, and
yes.
what he now Slate magazine thought that he alluded to gay marriage, but what he said was he lamented the state of the modern family. It is threatened, quote, perhaps as never before, from within and without. Fundamental relationships are being called into question as the very basis of marriage and family, as is the very basis of marriage and family. I can only reiterate the importance and, above all, the richness and the beauty of family life.
Yeah.
Now, for people who are not Catholic, it's like, dude, you're not even married, and you can't marry, and you don't have kids. But so that's a little strange for the non-Catholic. But the other thing is, I think maybe he was alluding to gay marriage, but I really think he was talking about the state of straight marriages.
Yeah.
And this trend towards serial monogamy, and this trend towards dating indefinitely, and having babies out of wedlock, and all of these things that the straight church or the straight families are having issues with.
Yeah, and you and I were talking about this one this morning, and I think that there are some folks who believe that this Pope is very liberal, and he said some things that have been sort of constituted or considered to be sort of pro-gay in terms of who are we to judge and things like that, and because he avoids using the words gay marriage and talking about homosexuality directly, people might be able to interpret some of these words to suggest that when he keeps just using the generic word family, that could be a gay family as well as a straight family.
Well, but okay, so here's the thing. I think where he's coming from is that every single one of us, every man, woman, and child on this planet was created in the image of God.
Mm-hmm.
And none of us, 0%, if you're Christian, you believe this, none of us live up to the glory of God. None of us. None of us can keep the whole law. None of us are without blame and sin. None of us. And so I think, his desire is to pull back from the condemnation of one group over another. I mean, unless we're talking about violent people, but in the average run-of-the-mill daily life, and to remember that we are at our core, we are all human, we are all fallible, and that it is our responsibility to love our God above all else and to love our neighbor as ourselves. And I think that's where he's coming from.
And I think so too. But again, I think that people who think this Pope is very liberal could interpret these words to think that he was maybe giving a very sort of soft sort of, hey, family's good, and hey, gay families are good families too.
But I'm glad he's talking about families, whether they're gay or straight. I'm glad there's a real problem in straight marriage. When you have high percentages of families, couples breaking up, so having divorce and what that means to children. And if you have one divorce, you're more likely to have another one, and what that means to families and children. And their church leaders have not adequately dealt with that trend. It is, we need to take marriage as a sacrament in the Catholic Church.
It is.
We need to take it more seriously as a global community. When you decide to marry somebody, and especially if you decide to create children with that somebody, that's a commitment like no other.
I agree. And again, I'm glad he raised this issue. I just believe that different folks are going to hear this message very differently, and that he chose those words very carefully. That he wanted this message to appeal to a broad audience. And so I think people on both the left and the right of the political spectrum are going to take different things from his message on family and marriage.
Maybe.
And that's interesting. And again, it's going to get a dialogue going. It's an interesting dialogue.
So it's past time for a break at 6:18. I'm Erin Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050. We'll be right back.
No sooner done than said on AM 1050 KCAA.
Call the dogs and put out the fire. This is Baxter Black on Monday, here to start the week with a little peek at a shortcut. What holds the loaded 30,000-pound trailer to the heavy-duty truck? What holds the 38-foot RV trailer to the dually? What holds the 2-horse trailer with your daughter's favorite pony to the half-ton pickup? Well, the odds are it's a B&W trailer hitch, probably a turnover bowl, American-made, employee-owned, customer-tuned, and proud of their part in America's greatness. B&W, holding things together down the road. It occurs to me that if any two people in the cattle business should get together and compare notes, it's the purebred breeder and the packer buyer. Yet, if we saw photographic evidence of this historic meeting, we'd think it was trick photography. What could they possibly have in common? A prestigious breeder of registered animals, refined creatures with pedigrees steeped in culture and history, cattle selected and improved over the decades to achieve characteristics pleasing to both the artist, the butcher, and the connoisseur. Men who hold the blueprint for the future cow in their hands. Strong men, but sensitive. What could they possibly have in common with a person who smokes cheap cigars, drinks generic whiskey, and creeps around feedlots like a troll looking for a house to rob? Yes, men who are such scintillating conversationalists that they consider a grunt a complete sentence. Men who can spot a 1/64th part Holstein and a black baldy and dock you for it. Men whose personalities are suited for very few other occupations except possibly a cashier in a discount store. And yet the very same such person has his finger on the pulse of the consumer. He tells the results of his findings, the feedlot operator, every time he buys a load of fats. The feedlot operator then relates the consumer's wants to the order buyer when he places an order, who tells the stocker man, who tells the commercial cowman, who finally tells the purebred breeder. Thus, a year later, at his spring bull sale, the manufacturer finally learns what the customer's buying. This taking of the pulse is done by paying more or paying less. Under ideal conditions, it is possible to conceive a meeting between the purebred breeder and a packer buyer in some neutral territory like an atoll in the Pacific, maybe with a translator who spoke Roy Town. They could share their problems, their wants and desires, the importance of dressing percent, carcass size and consistency, a good udder, calving ease and gain. It would streamline our business. Alas, I don't see it happening. It's hard to picture a packer buyer in a show barn primping the pom-pom tail of a show steer. Just about as plausible as a gentrified purebred breeder driving down a feedlot alley at 6 a.m. in a 73 Lincoln with a window down a crack and humming a little troll song. This is Baxter Black on Monday.
Brought to you by B&W Turnover Bowl.
Hi, this is Steve Aladort from Rancho Financial with the Mortgage Minute. With property values increasing, this might be the perfect time to do a loan checkup to see if it makes sense to refinance. Do you have an equity line? If your equity line is getting close to 10 years old, your payment is about to fully amortize. Coupled with the certainty that the feds will soon increase short-term rates, there might be a substantial jump in payment on your line of credit. If we combine your current loan, equity line, and possibly even some of your credit debt, there could be a substantial reduction in what you have to pay each month. Do you have VA eligibility? VA will allow 100% cash-out financing. This may be a perfect time to use your eligibility. We can go 85% cash out with FHA or 80% with a standard conventional loan. There are many possible options that could make a huge difference in your monthly payments. That's why you need a loan financial planner to provide you with all of your possible options. Give me a call, Steve Aladort, at 888-563-1070. That's 888-563-1070, or go to loanfinancialplanner.com.
Tired of spending too much money on an ad and then trying to find your ad in the newspaper, buried among hundreds, even thousands of other ads? Isn't it time you got a great deal when you were trying to sell that car, that dining room set, that refrigerator, or offering your handyman services? Now you can in the Nickel Shopper. For as little as $7.50 per week, your ad can be seen by thousands of eyeballs in the high desert, and they're getting the Nickel Shopper for free. Call today to place your ad in the Nickel Shopper, 760-646-3654, or go to thenickelshopper.com for all the details, 760-646-3654. The Nickel Shopper. Now in the IE.
KCAA Radio, Loma Linda, where no listener is ever left behind.
If you want it, take it.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050. So there was another issue that the Pope has been really kind of revolutionary in bringing up. No other Pope has taken this stance, and that's on climate change. Tobin, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, look, everyone says that the Pope is sort of stepping out of his role as the leader of the church and entering the realm of politics when he talks about climate change. But I don't know. I think that there is a moral component to this issue, and that's what he's really sort of trying to draw our attention to, which is that we all reap the benefits of this planet, and therefore we all need to take some responsibility for making sure that those benefits remain for future generations.
So he said that the U.S. has an important role to play in reversing the environmental deterioration caused by human activity. Now is the time for courageous actions and strategies.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't like the language of the environmental alarmists that we're killing the earth. I think that argument falls very flat for me. But I think that when you start talking about the fact that we do need to consider that eventually that we will run out of, let's say fossil fuels, or that fossil fuels create smog, and that we need to, have some strategy for dealing with that. I think that a rational person can go, oh yeah, I don't like smog, so we should come up with something that deals with that. Right. Or, I don't like that gas prices are going up because, as more people are born and more people are on the planet and using gas, it's going to be used up quicker.
Well,
so we do need to come up with strategies.
And here's the thing, and the biggest issue, of course, is climate change, right?
Yeah.
And the debate, the scientists who say, it's happening, and then there are some who say it's not. I think the majority say that it's happening. I think it's irrelevant to me at this point whether or not it's human caused. I think that we need to, if planting trees can help bring temperatures down in urban environments, plant some trees, for crying out loud.
Well, exactly. And, for years we've had these, the industry itself sort of did this, the logging industry. You can't chop down all your trees and never plant new ones and expect your business to thrive.
Right.
Right. And so, the logging industry has also become very good at replenishing. Reforesting.
Right.
And so I think that taking those simple ideas and applying them to, our urban areas isn't so bad. And we chop down whole big things to build cities.
Yes.
Right? And where do we plant the? We didn't plant the trees to replenish.
And there have been studies that show that the greenhouse effect in these cities, and you can go, greenhouse effect, but no, it happens. You walk down stand on a blacktop, it's hotter than if you stand on the grass.
Yeah.
That's not rocket science.
Yeah.
And so if you've created a whole environment where it's all concrete and blacktop, it's gonna be hotter.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. So plant some trees.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Exactly. So I think that the Pope bringing up these issues is, again, it's a good thing. I like that we're talking about it in a moral sense, not just in a political sense. But I think that where I have a problem is when people try to say that that you're killing the planet, or want to go to the extreme of saying that capitalism is sort of this horrible destroyer of the world.
And then that becomes a political argument.
Yeah. And I think that's the unfortunate place where a lot of people want to take this and again, the extremists often are the ones who get handed the microphone.
I think that it's the moral thing in consumption on any level is to take only what you need.
Yeah.
And I say this with, we use how much food does the United States throw away each year?
Yeah.
And that food, if it's animal-based, represents an animal that's no longer alive. And so you've taken the life of an animal, then you're throwing away his life. I mean, you're throwing away the food, and we as human beings have the ability to make a moral choice.
Yeah.
If you're going to kill a deer, eat the deer.
Yeah.
Use its pieces, its body parts for, whatever it is that you need.
Yeah.
Again, I think that's the moral thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. And so again, this is an interesting issue. I'm glad the Pope is talking about it. But it's one I didn't initially agree with him on. I mean, I felt like he was sort of buying into some of the extremist language and such. But as I've had a chance to really listen and look a little bit more, I realized that basically he's just making the moral argument to say, look, we all live on the same planet,
Right.
Don't we have some obligation to one another and to our future generations, to our children, to leave the place a little bit better?
Because China's pollution doesn't stay in China.
Nope.
India's pollution doesn't stay in India, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We all share this planet.
Yep.
So I would happen to agree with him on that one. And finally, the other major point that he talked about was immigrants.
Yeah.
He invoked Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech in asking the U.S. to be more welcoming, not only to refugees from Europe, but from Mexico as well. On this continent, thousands of persons are led to travel north in search of a better life for themselves and their loved ones, in search of greater opportunities. Is this not what we want for our own children? And of course it is.
Yeah. And, he personalized it and talked about, coming from an immigrant family and how all of North and South America were essentially populated by immigrants.
Indeed.
That the natives that were here were sort of overrun.
They were
by immigrants.
But I would say that there's only one form of economic system that can support an influx like that, and that's capitalism.
Exactly.
Because the people have to have a way of starting businesses, supporting their families, becoming productive, all of those things. We certainly know that Mexican immigrants work hard. They work very hard. So let's give them the opportunity, and every immigrant the opportunity to own a business, to make the American dream.
Well, here's the thing: the United States still legal immigrants that come into this country we're one of the most welcoming nations on the planet.
Indeed.
For legal immigrants. And the question isn't about taking people in; it's about how do you take them in, who do you take in, and this question I know, like in Europe now, they're being sort of overrun with these Syrian refugees. And our president,
they're not all Syrian.
Yeah.
Some of them are Turkish. Some of them are, Iraqi. Some of them are, anyway.
Yeah, and our president has said that we're going to take in, I think, an additional 10,000 this year, and maybe 15,000 or more next year, and so on, and the numbers will go up. It's going to be interesting to see what process we develop and how do we screen, because there are some real concerns about, who comes in.
Right.
Who comes in, because some of these folks do not have good intentions. As you said, there are those sort of in that crowd of people that are coming from other places who maybe want to do us harm. And I think we have a legitimate right to screen and don't just say, oh, the door's wide open, everyone come.
Right.
We've got to be selective about it.
Right.
And this is going to be an interesting discussion.
Now he he has talked about he's not pro-capitalism, and I've mentioned this before on the air, and I believe this very strongly. The issue isn't capitalism; it's crony capitalism.
Yeah.
When the government chooses winners and losers based on who they give tax breaks to, who they give government contracts to, all of that. That is not how capitalism is supposed to work.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny. I had a person on my Facebook page. I posted a cartoon about the Pope and capitalism, and a very liberal friend made a statement about, because mine was very pro-capitalism, like the cartoon was, made a statement about this guy who had just jacked up the prices on the drugs.
Yes.
And tried to suggest that capitalism is evil because of that. But the reality is that if capitalism was at work, there would have been that drug is no longer a protected drug,
right,
and would have been able to have competition, and someone else would have sold it for the $13.
Exactly.
But because of the way our system is set up, this guy is given a protected license on that drug, and he was able to do that because it's crony capitalism, because the government protected him and allowed him to do that, not because capitalism. Capitalism would have had a market that would have kept that price low.
Capitalism is Walmart and Target across the street from one another.
Yeah.
That's capitalism.
Yeah.
And that everybody is empowered. I want immigrants to come here and open up restaurants and dry cleaners and flower shops and whatever, garages and et cetera, et cetera. And you see this with many, many Asian immigrants, is they'll pool their money, buy a shop. Everybody in the family works for it. They pool their money, they buy another one, and within one generation, you have a wealthy family.
Yeah.
That is what capitalism is all about.
Yeah.
That is what America is all about.
Yeah.
So it's time for a break at 6:33. I'm Erin Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050. We'll be right back.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
California headline news. Northern California firefighters on the verge of stamping out the big wildfires there.
It'll probably take us another week before we have full containment on both fires. There's still a lot of work to be done. Now, while most of the evacuations have been lifted, we still have work to do to make sure that all those hotspots are put out before we declare this 100% contained.
Daniel Berlant with CAL FIRE. A Saudi prince arrested in Los Angeles accused of a sex crime. 29-year-old Prince Mahed Abdul Aziz Al Saud arrested after a disturbance at his rented home, accused of trying to force a worker to perform a sex act on him. The prince not protected by diplomatic immunity.
There are various types of diplomatic immunity. You have full immunity, partial immunity. Some immunity is handled through the course of a person's employment.
Rick Madison with LA Police. The union representing thousands of faculty members from 23 Cal State University campuses says its members are voting on whether to go on strike. Geico weather above normal temperatures continuing for another day. Jeff Scott, California News.
Geico presents 15 Things to See and Do in California. The J. Paul Getty Museum in Los Angeles seeks to inspire enjoyment and understanding of the visual and performing arts by collecting and exhibiting works of outstanding quality and historical importance. The experience is enhanced by the unique setting of the museum's two renowned venues, the Getty Villa and the Getty Center. That's one of 15 things to see and do in California. Brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Call 1-800-947-AUTO or visit geico.com.
If you can't recall your own cell phone number, but know the braking distance of a half-ton pickup traveling downhill at 57 miles per hour, then CarQuest Auto Parts is for you. That's because CarQuest Auto Parts is for those who really know and care about their car. Right now, get a half-inch drive click-style torque wrench, a $34.99 value for just $10 with the purchase of CarQuest Platinum brake pads and 2 rotors. CarQuest is serious auto parts.
See participating stores for details.
It's time for your KCAA 1050 AM traffic report. I'm Erin Brinker. In Chino, we have stop-and-go traffic on the 60 westbound between Central Avenue and the 57 Orange Freeway. The 10 west is slow and go from Mountain Avenue to the 57. The 210 west is busy between Carnelian Avenue and Foothill. Also in Corona, we have stop-and-go traffic on the 91 westbound between McKinley Street and Green River Road. The 71 south is busy between Pine Avenue and the 91. Also in Corona, we have slow traffic on the 15 northbound between Wyrick Road and El Cerrito Road. And also in Corona, we have slow traffic on the 15 northbound between the Hidden Valley Parkway and Limonite Avenue. In Paris, we have slow traffic on the 215 northbound between Highway 74 East and Redlands Avenue. In Moreno Valley, we have slow traffic on the 215 northbound between Alessandro Boulevard and University Avenue. The 60 West is busy between Day Street and the 215. And finally, in Temecula, we have slow traffic on the 15 southbound between Rancho California Front Street and 79 South Temecula Parkway. This has been your KCAA 1050 AM traffic report. I'm Erin Brinker.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Ron Pritchard. For this morning, we've got clear skies, sunny and a high near 99. Tonight, mostly clear, low near 73. Saturday, sunny and a high near 100. Saturday night, mostly clear, low near 73. Sunday, sunny and a high near 97. Sunday night, mostly clear, low near 70. Monday, sunny and a high near 92. That's your weather forecast for this hour from the station that leaves no listener behind. NBC News Radio, AM 1050, KCAA.
Your application looks great, but I'm not seeing any marketing experience.
The ad said mechanic needed.
Right, but I need a mechanic/marketing wizard. What do you know about reputation management?
Nothing.
Search engine optimization?
Is that under the hood?
Let Dex Media be your marketing department. We can help with any digital marketing solution from search to social. Contact Dex Media, that's DEX Media, to get found, get chosen, and get talked about. Call 844-230-3436 or visit dexmedia.com today.
The most diversified radio station on the dial, AM 1050 KCAA.
It's going down. I'm yelling timber. You better move.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
We are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050. Got a couple of Chicago stories.
Chicago's in the news, Aaron.
Chicago, big bad Chicago.
You know,
go ahead.
I was gonna just jump right into it.
Go for it.
So look, you know, our Jewish friends just finished celebrating Yom Kippur.
They're not really celebrating.
Well,
Yom Kippur is all about. It's a fast. It's all about repentance. So they celebrated Rosh Hashanah.
Yes.
And then had a fast through Yom Kippur. And Yom Kippur was yesterday.
And so one of the Chicago TV news stations decided to report about Yom Kippur, and
or Yom Kippur, as some people say.
Yom Kippur, excuse me. And they unfortunately selected a Star of David artwork to accompany their news report, but they picked the absolute worst sort of Star of David artwork that you could find. Someone obviously went and just did like a Google image search or something.
And I'm guessing it must have been an intern, and nobody looked at it before it hit the air.
And it just popped up, and they said, "Oh, let's stick this on there." But it's actually a picture of one of the patches that the Jews wore in the concentration camps.
Worse than that, it's on this blue and white striped background, which represents their pajamas that they wore in the concentration camps.
Exactly. I mean, and it's I mean, this is so offensive, and that was the image that pops up behind the newscaster as he's talking about Yom Kippur. And you know, in the best case, this person's just ignorant and didn't know what the symbol was. In the worst case, this is an actual anti-Semite who did this on purpose,
right?
Who thought this was maybe funny, you know, and did this as a way to, you know, attack or, you know, cause some harm to people. It's bizarre, and Chicago is a big city with, I believe, a fairly large Jewish population.
Yes,
and so
it's horrific. Imagine being a Jewish family and seeing this on the nightly news.
Yeah.
You know, because by the time sundown happens, and then the fast is broken, and the Yom Kippur is over, because it goes, you know, the Jewish days and their holidays goes from sundown to sunup, or sundown to sundown, right? That's how it's one day.
Yeah.
That's, you know, from dusk to dusk. That's how I think it goes. And, you know, so you're watching the nightly news and you see this image and, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
Shame on them.
Exactly.
The thing that strikes me is that how could anybody, like you said, they're either stupid or they're malicious.
Yeah.
You know, and they'd have to be really stupid to not know that this was be offensive.
Yeah. Now,
it's in German, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And you know, and here's the thing: the news station, of course, apologizes. They say, "We're truly sorry for inadvertently using offensive image in our story. We apologize and deeply regret the error." And the station was extremely embarrassed, according to the general manager and the news director. Again, you know, this is just unbelievable. And of course, ignorance is not an excuse.
It's not. Well, as the Rialto Unified School District learned last year.
Yeah.
You know, not to bring up old wounds, but
Yeah.
people need to think. I mean, my goodness, think a second time.
Yeah. So that's just the first Chicago story, Aaron. Rahm Emanuel has been sued. The mayor of Chicago, former Obama administration chief of staff. Apparently, he has a private email, Aaron, a politician with a private email.
Okay, here let's before we go into the story, let me step back. Politicians having private emails is not a problem.
Yes.
The problem is getting official email at that private email address.
And using it to skirt open
government laws.
Open government laws, transparency laws. Yeah, and that's where we really get into this interesting area. So according to the Chicago Tribune is suing Mayor Rahm Emanuel over claims that he violated open record laws by failing to disclose personal emails and text used to conduct city business. Today's lawsuit seeks to force the former White House aide to produce documents. The lawsuit argues that the newspaper's Freedom of Information Act requests to the Emanuel administration are met with a pattern of partial or non-compliance and delay. Editor Gerald Kern says in a statement that the newspaper seeks records on matters of great public interest. The issue of public officials relying on personal email for government business has been in the spotlight, of course, thanks to Hillary Clinton's similar controversy.
Now, Hillary Clinton, hers is a special situation because as the Secretary of State, she had presumably seriously classified emails going to and from her email box.
Yes.
And so there's a different layer of national security. Now, for her, in her case, now Rahm Emanuel, there's not. I mean, he's the mayor of Chicago. He's not chief of, the Secretary of State. However, the reason why we have these open government laws, Chicago, is because of major corruption. And I emphasize Chicago because it's one of those places where it's been a problem.
Yeah. So, you've got on your personal email, send the bribe to this address.
Well, I'm sure they wouldn't use bribe, but okay. Yeah, exactly.
And you don't have to release that one. But on the official government email, it's, I'm so glad you went through our open bid process.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and even if there's nothing there, it has the perception that you're cheating.
Yeah, exactly. And and locally we had this story just recently of our council person Benito Barrios here in San Bernardino, who was caught sort of posting on Facebook in the middle of a meeting.
Yes, like he was selling a gun or something. Which he's allowed to do. That's not the problem. But at a time when he's sitting in a city council meeting, he's dinking around on a cell phone.
But it's raised an issue that people have had about the use of digital devices during public meetings. And so you're using your personal phone during the meeting, and whether you're posting publicly on a Facebook account or sending a private text message, people are concerned that people are being prompted to say and do things during the meeting.
So in California, we have the Brown Act. And
Yes.
Tobin, explain the Brown Act a little bit.
Okay, so the Brown Act is designed to make sure that the people of the community have a say in issues, and that the things are not being sort of decided behind closed doors, out of the view of the public. And so if you're sitting there at a public meeting and you're texting with someone, then no one else can see that text.
They can just see that you're texting. They can't see the text.
They can see that you're doing something on a digital device. And it's in the middle of a debate on a topic. They might assume that people there are sending private messages back and forth to the same people at the dais, or that they're talking with outside influencers who might be, attempting to get a particular outcome.
Conducting business in secret.
Exactly.
And which is a problem. And we know, I mean, with time when you were on the council, there are people who were doing this.
Yeah.
That were getting coaching for one person or another during a debate at the dais, and they have their cell phones.
Yeah.
They're having this conversation on their phones that is affecting what's going out in the public forum. I personally believe that anything like that needs to be public record. You need to turn over your cell phone if you're going to use it in a meeting.
I agree.
Because it has to become part of the record.
But the law has not caught up with, I think, where the technology is, right? And so this is going to be interesting. I think that these cases like Hillary Clinton, like Rahm Emanuel, is going to begin to get people focused on the law about what is open, what is closed, how does this information get shared,
right?
Because there was a discussion when I was on the city council, because you're given a city mobile device that has text and all that, and you're told that all of that is, can be subpoenaed.
It's all public record. Freedom of Information Act stuff.
And that, but again, if you're using your own phone, it's not. And so people...
It should be.
Yeah.
It should be.
But I'm telling you that once you get that thing, a lot of people make the quick decision, well, I just won't use the public device for anything important.
So it essentially renders the Brown Act moot because now they can conduct. They're not in a smoky room, but it's still behind the prying eyes of the public.
Yeah.
So the Brown Act, like I said, is rendered moot.
Exactly. And so I think these laws are going to be looked at. But I'm laughing over this one with the Rahm Emanuel because Chicago has such a bad history with this kind of corruption.
I know it does.
And so many people have sort of
They
been
wrote the book on it.
Yeah, so many people have sort of been undone by this stuff. And you think that they would just be smarter about it and just, say we're not going to, we're just going to be completely open and transparent and bring a new day, but it never happens.
It never happens.
It never happens.
It's already time for another break. It's 6:46. I'm Erin Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
We are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050, and we'll be right back.
Listen to KCAA.
Hi, this is Steve Aladort from Rancho Financial with the Mortgage Minute. With property values increasing, this might be the perfect time to do a loan checkup to see if it makes sense to refinance. Do you have an equity line? If your equity line is getting close to 10 years old, your payment is about to fully amortize. Coupled with the certainty that the feds will soon increase short-term rates, there might be a substantial jump in payment on your line of credit. If we combine your current loan, equity line, and possibly even some of your credit debt, there could be a substantial reduction in what you have to pay each month. Do you have VA eligibility? VA will allow 100% cash-out financing. This may be a perfect time to use your eligibility. We can go 85% cash out with FHA or 80% with a standard conventional loan. There are many possible options that could make a huge difference in your monthly payments. That's why you need a loan financial planner to provide you with all of your possible options. Give me a call, Steve Aladort, at 888-563-1070. That's 888-563-1070, or go to loanfinancialplanner.com.
We are farmers. We are all day long doers. Agriculture isn't just our industry, it's our way of life. We invest in equipment that's long-lasting, economical, and environmentally conscious because that's what it takes to do the job right. We're all about greater horsepower and cleaner emissions, new implements, more attachments, better technology, and dependable engineering. For all your ag equipment needs, we are Kubota.
We found the problem with your car. Turns out the carburetor differential modulator is out.
What?
And while we were digging around in there, this thing fell off.
Stop. There's no automotive repair nightmares at Diego Martinez's 5-Star Automotive in San Bernardino. 5-Star Automotive, where you'll get a great experience, and home of the $15.99 oil change. That's right, just $15.99. They specialize in transmissions, brake repair, AC, and many other repairs, all with a lifetime warranty on parts and labor. Diego knows when your auto needs 5-star attention, it's never convenient. He offers a 12-month interest-free auto repair loan on major auto repairs with no money down. He'll even throw in free towing and a 10% discount for his neighbors in the 909 who work for the city and county of San Bernardino. Call 909-387-0770. That's 387-0770. Your neighbors at 909 West 2nd Street in San Bernardino.
Market Wrap with Mo Ansari is your daily source for financial news and analysis. With over 30 years of trading experience, Mo shares his thoughts on the markets, answers your financial questions, and features guest experts from around the world covering a variety of investment topics. Visit MarketWrapWithMo.com for more info about the show and listen to Market Wrap with Mo Ansari. Weekdays at 5 p.m. on KCAA 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
With more local radio every day, we're KCAA 1050 AM, Loma Linda.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
We are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050. We have some up-to-the-minute, absolute breaking news. John Boehner will resign from Congress and give up his House seat at the end of October, according to his aides in his office. And this is according to the New York Times. Mr. Boehner was under extreme pressure from the right wing of his conference over whether or not to defund Planned Parenthood in a bill to keep the government open.
Who's John Boehner?
Okay, we're going to pretend that he didn't ask that question.
No, I'm. Here's the thing. I mean, he's been the Speaker of the House, the third most powerful person in Washington.
Indeed.
And who is he? I mean, really.
He cries a lot.
I mean, seriously. I mean, you think about. I mean, first off, he's had the roughest time of any speaker that I've known in my lifetime.
Yes.
He has been essentially a non-entity, right?
Yes. I would describe him as feckless.
Yeah. And so what is his legacy going to be? I mean, and him resigning right now at the moment that he's choosing to resign, I mean, this is the biggest wimp out I think I've ever seen in my life. I'm not kidding, Aaron. I mean, what message does this send? I mean, this guy, is elected. He is elevated to a leadership position. And here we are at a moment, standing right at the precipice of perhaps another government shutdown.
Yes.
Where's the leadership? This is not the moment to throw in the towel and walk away.
I agree.
This is when real men stand up and figure out a way to solve a problem.
So do you think that the next person in line will be more like Tom DeLay than John Boehner? I
have no idea, but God, I'm mad. I find myself sitting here angry that, how did this guy get to this position? And, what message does this send? And the people that want to shut the government down, this has got to embolden them.
I'm sure it does.
I'm
sure it does.
They hated him, and they've seen him as this, this capitulator who squishes and makes the deal and all this other stuff. And so they're gonna push even harder. And so I just don't know what this means. I mean, this really throws a monkey wrench into our government.
Well, and it speaks to the real division that's going on in the Republican Party today. And we've seen this in some of the polling, and I think why Donald Trump has gotten so much traction. Now, he's just a bloviator, but the words that he's saying about being tough and whatever really resonate with some people. And there are some people who would like to cleanse the Republican Party of the people like John Boehner and what they would call the squishes.
Yeah.
And talk about that a little.
Well, first off, I think that's just absolutely ignorant. You'll never be a majority party with that attitude.
Indeed.
You can't build a party around the idea of we're going to kick everyone out that disagrees with us. Because in order to win elections, you got to pull people in.
Right.
You've got to have an attractive message, and honestly, you have to be able to govern. And governing means making compromises. It means making deals, and people who don't understand that are just so ignorant. They just honestly don't deserve to be able to vote. I mean, let's be clear.
Not that you want to prevent them from voting.
No, and I never would. But I'm just saying that I get so frustrated with this attitude of, we have to just draw a line in the sand and whatever.
You're a rhino because
you
don't believe in absolutely everything I say.
Yeah, I mean, I get that when you're dealing with a strong man in a foreign country that you're going to be strong like that. But when we're talking about the internal politics of how our government works, how do you get things done? How do you accomplish a goal? You don't accomplish a goal by kicking everyone out of your party, drawing a line in the sand.
Except that they would say that you're not accomplishing anything if you're capitulating to the enemy, let's be honest, to the other side.
The Democrats are not the enemy.
I agree with you.
They're not the enemy. I mean, they are American citizens who have valid opinions, and we need to listen to them. And our government is designed for incremental change.
Right.
The people who want this extreme change, we want it to have it our way, they're just as bad as Obama is. One of the things I've hated about Obama is how he has forced his agenda through our system, basically breaking the system.
Right,
and that's
because
why
he's ignored Congress. I mean, he really hasn't needed Congress.
Yeah, and so this is Boehner has just thrown a horrible monkey wrench in the whole dang thing, and man, I'm upset.
I wish that he could have stood up to the right wing of the party and said, "This we are all Republicans." And got us. I'm not going to say get us in line because that sounds obedient, but at least was open, made them open to hearing another point of view.
He's a horrible communicator. To have someone in that position who cannot communicate well, I mean, you've got to have a clear message. He needs to be the face and the voice of the congressional, caucus, so to speak, and he never has been. He just disappears into the background. Like you said, he's known for crying.
He's known for crying.
And
he does it a lot. He apparently cried again when the Pope spoke.
Yeah. So I'm just really shocked that he would do this. And and we're in the middle of or at least the beginning portion of a presidential election. And so this is going to throw a monkey wrench in because it's going to embolden some different folks. It's really going to make things harder.
Now, he can be a communicator. He can be strong. When I say he, whomever is in that position,
yes.
He can be all of these things and still not be so rigid that anybody who doesn't think exactly like he does gets kicked to the curb.
Yeah.
I think of some of the great speakers of the House, and Tip O'Neill, he was a Democrat, was definitely one of those. He worked with Reagan, and nobody would call the man a marshmallow.
Yeah.
Nobody.
The interesting thing for me as we watch this go forward is, will they do their normal tactic of elevating the second in command and each person sort of moves up a rung in the leadership that's been there, or will there be some new voice, some new face, some outsider who will emerge as the consensus candidate that will be able to pull everyone together? And there's only a few people in Congress that maybe could do that. Paul Ryan is one of them, and he's been a person who has basically said he didn't want to do that in the past because I think he just wanted to be in charge of the budget committee and the other things that he was doing, Ways and Means. But it'd be interesting to see if that's what happens, or if there's some brand new person we've never heard of that suddenly emerges. I think when Newt Gingrich took over, it was kind of like that he was not sort of the expected person, and then
no, but you could once you could see that wave coming once it started.
Oh yeah,
and that it was a tidal wave.
Yeah,
but it didn't happen. It didn't happen midstream, if I remember correctly. I mean, it would happen when these things typically happen. I don't remember anybody resigning or being removed from that post.
Well, what happened with when Newt Gingrich took over is that obviously the Republicans got
right, because he had the
majority.
Contract with America.
They were in the minority, and then he was sort of helped to get them to take the majority. And
but
so
it wasn't like this, where there's
Yeah.
somebody resigns midstream, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera. And so an aide to Boehner told NBC News that the speaker was only planning to serve through the end of the year. But Representative Eric Cantor's loss last year had changed that calculation. Speaker Boehner believes that the first job of any speaker is to protect this institution. And, as we saw yesterday with the Holy Father, it is the one thing that unites and inspires us all, the aide said. The speaker believes that putting members through the prolonged leadership turmoil would do irreparable damage to the institution. Some analysts, including KBW's Brian Gardner, have said that Boehner's exit decreases the chances of a government shutdown. This speaker is taking one for the team. He's going to probably try and strike a deal that includes congressional Democrats, which would have been poised for a group of conservatives who would have rebelled against him. Gardner said, "It's a very fluid situation, but my immediate takeaway is that this decreases the likelihood of a government shutdown."
Wow. Well, that's interesting. I actually had thought in my head that it would actually increase the possibility because it would embolden people to, use a variety of maneuvers to shut it down.
This may just be spin. I mean, he's coming out of Washington, so we'll see what actually happens. I believe that the right wing, knowing some of the right wingers, like really right wingers, they're going to be like, "Yeah, he's gone. We're going to get what we want."
Well, and here's the thing: I think the Democrats secretly want the government to get shut down because they want to blame the Republicans.
Of course, they do.
And so this idea that he's going to get Democrats to help avoid this, I think is crazy. They're going to find some way to let the nut jobs have their way so that they can then have the political argument of, oh, look, they shut down the government.
So we are completely out of time. It's 6:59. Obviously, we'll be talking about this on Monday.
Yep.
I am Aaron Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
We have Brandon in the booth. We are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050. Have a great weekend, everybody.
This is KCAA Loma Linda, the station that leaves no listener behind. CNBC News is next, a courtesy of buysellmakeoffer.com, where you can post a video about items you have for sale. Sign up now. It's free.
I'm Chris Maurer, CNBC Business Radio. Traders are in a buying mood on remarks made by Fed Chair Janet Yellen. After the market closed, she helped clarify the central bank's position on rate hikes, saying the Fed would likely begin raising them sometime later this year. The U.S. economy expanded more than estimated during the second quarter on stronger consumer spending and construction. The Commerce Department says gross domestic product rose at a 3.9% annual pace, up from the 3.7% pace reported last month. And McDonald's is jumping on the organic bandwagon. It's test marketing an organic hamburger in select restaurants in Germany. The struggling fast food restaurant is trying to gain more customers by shedding its unhealthy image. Just recently, the company announced that it was turning to chicken raised without antibiotics. Chris Maurer, CNBC Business Radio.
There are no guarantees in love, but there is a guarantee from EH Plus by eHarmony, our new personal matchmaking service. At EH Plus, your own personal matchmaker gets to know you so well, we can guarantee introductions that will be satisfying and exciting. EH Plus goes far beyond regular online dating sites, and that's a guarantee. Visit us at ehplus.com/love or call 1-855-930-LOVE.
Walmart can help you stay one step ahead of flu season. Because at Walmart, you can get your flu shot anytime from one of our certified pharmacists. No appointment necessary. And while you're in the store, pick up Lysol disinfecting wipes and Lysol disinfectant spray that actually kill cold and flu viruses and antibiotic-resistant bacteria. These are steps you can take right now at Walmart to help prevent the flu from getting to you.
Some immunizations may not be available in all locations due to state law restrictions on pharmacist-administered immunizations. Age restrictions may apply. Use all products as directed.
Consider this your invitation to sell. At buysellmakeoffer.com, you can sell as much as you want for the next 60 days without paying any fees whatsoever. Sound incredible? It is, and it's true. Buysellmakeoffer.com is the new exciting way to sell your stuff online. Make extra money right now. Sell your old car, furniture, video games, household items, clothes, even your home. Sell anything that's legal. Load up your stuff to sell right now at buysellmakeoffer.com. This is your official invitation to get on board to sell your stuff right now. Free for the next 60 days. And once you see how easy it is, you'll want to sign up for more because there are no item fees. That's right. Take this opportunity to move items from the other guys and sell it for free. You might even win a Samsung tablet, Amazon gift cards, and other cool prizes. BuySellMakeOffer.com is the future of online selling. You can use Skype to talk to your buyer or seller. Plus, you can use video to showcase your items. BuySellMakeOffer.com.
It's time for your KCAA 1050 AM traffic report. I'm Erin Brinker. In Chino, we have stop-and-go traffic on the 60 westbound between Ramona Avenue and the 57 Orange Freeway. The 10 west is slow and go from Mountain Avenue to the 57. In Corona, we have stop-and-go traffic on the 91 westbound between McKinley Street and Green River Road. East is slow from Adams Street to Arlington. The 71 south is busy between Pine Avenue and the 91. Also in Corona, we have stop-and-go traffic 15 northbound between Temescal Canyon Road and Cajalco Road. Finally, another one in Corona, slow traffic on the 15 northbound between Hidden Valley Parkway and Harupa Street. South is busy in pockets between the 210 and the 60. In Paris, we have slow traffic on the 215 northbound between Ethonac Road and Redlands Avenue. In Moreno Valley, we have slow traffic from the 215 northbound between Alessandro Boulevard and University Avenue. The 60 west is busy between Day Street and the 215. And finally, object on the roadway on the 215 southbound approaching Martin Luther King Boulevard in Riverside. A large 5-gallon bucket is in the right lanes. This has been your KCAA 1050 AM traffic report. I'm Erin Brinker.
With your Friday news, I'm Jim Miller, KCAA 1050 AM, CNBC News, the station that leaves no listener behind. A lawsuit seeking monetary damages of at least $1 million filed this week against the city of Marietta and its mayor, Harry Ramos, who had been accused of sexually assaulting a woman at a chamber